Hey everyone, this is Drake Bell, and you're watching Childhood DVD Fan right here on YouTube.
Hello, I'm Winford Warren. You might know me as Herb from the Nickelodeon film Drake and Josh Go Hollywood, the movie. And today I'm going to answer some questions that were sent to me. First question: what was the full backstory on how you got the role as Herb for the Drake and Josh TV movie? What's the full backstory? Not the partial backstory. You get the full backstory here, only on this channel here. I remember getting the sides for Herb, the sides being the text they send you that you're going to audition with, okay? I remember getting the sides for Herb very soon before the actual audition. Like, I think they sent it to me in the morning, and they said, you're going to audition for us around midday. So it was the airplane scene, the full airplane scene, internal airplane scene. And I went there, and there were 5 of us auditioning for this part. I was the 5th one. There were 4 people in front of me. And I did what they tell you never to do in auditions. I listened at what the other actors were doing. And they tell you not to do that because, you know, you could be listening to some other actors and you could say, oh, they must know something I don't, and make similar choices to them, and then you're kind of blowing your own audition. But for me, it was different. For me, it gave me confidence because I knew my interpretation of Herb. I knew it was strong, and I, whether they took me or not, I knew that I was going to do a really bang-up job for Herb. And it wasn't like I was listening at the door. It's, you know, you can't really help when you're sitting in the waiting room because Herb can be a loud guy, right? So you can't really help but hear through the walls what was happening. And I remember just getting, with each one going ahead of me, a more and more confidence booster because I heard that. I was like, oh, that's not the right beat. No, I got that. You know, it was incredible. And so when I went in there, I went in there with great confidence and just did it my way. And later that day, I got a call from my manager, and she said, congratulations, you got the part. And I was ecstatic. It was my first professional gig ever. That excitement was quickly changed to terror because I was on call for jury duty that week. And the way it works in Los Angeles is you're on call for a week-long period, and each night you call into the jury duty service hotline, and it tells you whether or not you are to show up the next day for your jury service. And I did not know. I was on call this week, and I said to my manager, oh my God, I'm on call for jury duty. And you could tell she's kind of gritting her teeth saying, well, let me know if you're doing jury duty tomorrow. Luckily for us all, I was not called in for jury service that next day, so I could take the part. So I arrive, and the day we shot the first scene was the day that Pope Benedict was elected Pope. I was in my dressing room when the white smoke went up. And so that's how I always remember my first professional day on a professional set was the day that Pope Benedict was elected. And when I went to hair and makeup, I also got really nervous because the woman playing my wife in the show said, oh my God, you're way too young to be my husband. What are you? And I was 20-something at the time. And, you know, it's just my worst fear. And I slicked my hair back. I don't know if you remember. I slicked my hair back because I thought that will make me look older, right? Because that was the whole thing, was to look older. Because I think it was supposed to be in his 40s. I think this part was originally listed as something like that. So I slicked my hair back to give me that old mature look. And that kind of was sort of sitting in the back of my mind that she had said this, you know, quite, it was like the first thing she said to me, you can't be my husband, what are you, 20-something? And so then we went to the set, and I was introduced to the director, and Drake, and Josh, in that order. They were standing in a line. And it was, you know, there were pleasantries exchanged, and then Drake, while looking at me, leaned over and said something to the director like this, with his hand over his mouth, looking right at me. And in my head, what he was saying was, this guy can't be this woman's husband. He's way too young. We got to get rid of him. We got to find somebody else. You know, very rat-a-tat-tat old Hollywood, right? That's in my head. Because, again, my first time on a set, and I was just envisioning the worst. I would get there, they'd fire me. And that's really something that an actor carries, I think, a lot through his life, is that there's this feeling, or at least for me, there's this sensation, driving to the set and getting to the set, and this whole time there's this gnawing sensation of, I don't really belong here. They're going to figure out I'm a fake. They're going to figure out I'm not worthy of this. They're going to figure out somehow that I'm not right for this. And it may all stem from this, or it may just be that way for all actors anyway. And it's not until you really sort of do that first take that things just, oh, I belong here. I deserve this, right? But there's this heightened insecurity up until that moment, that at any moment they're going to figure out you're a fake, phony, get rid of him. And so when he said, and he could have been saying anything. He could have said, this guy looks funny. He could have said, this guy looks like my cousin. He could have said, I don't know, this guy is perfect for the part. But whatever he said, either it was not, get rid of this guy immediately because he's way too young, or he said that and they ignored him. But either way, I was still there on this set. And that is the story of how, the full backstory of how I booked Herb and how I kept Herb. Question 2. When you and your wife, Darla, played by Debbie, get onto the plane and are assigned seats in row 27, A and C, yes, A and C, did Josh give you and or Debbie the okay to go all out for that specific scene? You've done your homework, I must say. Yes, he did. He was great. Josh said to us up front, do whatever you want. Just, don't worry about me. Just make it funny. Just be funny. And so he gave us that freedom to kind of doing all that stuff we were doing at the beginning, where we were, throwing things around and going down here and getting stuff. And that was all just, improvised in the moment. And then the moment where I lean back and he's there and I'm, this thing, that was just pure luck. It was pure luck that when I sat back, he was there, and I was able to give that little face and that sliding down the seat. And I remember Drake was watching and he laughed, and once we cut, Drake said, that was so funny. I said, yeah, and they'll never use it. They'll never use it because it was the funniest one, and they used it. I was so happy. But yeah, Josh was great. He and by the way, it was not just we had to do that scene many different times, so we did it different ways, and we pretty much beat him up. And so thank you, Josh, for giving us that freedom to be as funny as we could be. Question 3. I assume the plane and those seats were a set. Was it a set or a real plane? It was a set. You are correct in your assumption that it was a set. It was a set built on the Bronson lot. It was called the Tribune lot back then, I believe. And now it's the Bronson, or it's called something else, but it's come through a couple of different changes. And I think it was the same set where they shot the television series, because I remember it was a huge soundstage. And we were in the middle of the plane was in the middle of the soundstage, and around us was a set for a house. And I'm assuming it was their house in the show. And I'm afraid to say I've never saw the show to know, but I'm assuming it was. And it was a great set because it could come off in different sections. Like the back section could come off while they filmed us walking down the way, and then they would attach that back and take out the front section, and then film from the back, us on the other side, and all the other stuff. And so it was a great little set that could come off in pieces, so they could do whatever they wanted to. Question 4, when Darla complains about a sore on her arm, I assume it was obviously fake. It always looked like pepperoni to me. What was the sore? It was fake. I don't remember what it was. She was in makeup and hair for a lot longer than I was. I walked in with my slicked back hair. I remember it slicked back, and it was slicked back with concrete practically. So there was no moving it. And so I walked in and said, "Well, your hair's pretty much set. It looks like." She was in the trailer for a lot longer than I was. I don't know what that was or what it. I mean, it was something I'm sure they put on her arm. But so I sorry, I can't answer that question of what it actually was. Question 5. How was it eating all that chicken for the scene? Oh, I hated it. I hate it. Yeah, remember, this is like 9 o'clock in the morning or something. It was early. It was before lunch, I remember. And it was a bucket of chicken, and it was cold chicken, but they would heat up the 2 pieces that we were going to be using for the scene each time. And I believe we had a spit bucket for that. Now, for those of you who don't know, in Hollywood here, when you are doing an eating scene, you're eating a lot, you kind of fill up, and so they have a receptacle for you to spit out whatever's in your mouth when they say cut. And I think I can't remember if we had one or not, because we ate a lot of chicken. Because again, we were doing it from different directions, not only from the front but also from the back. We did some takes, and we were pros, Debbie and I, so we ate the chicken even though it was from the back. I remember when it came time for lunch, I could not stomach even looking at lunch because I had spent all morning eating chicken. It was not fun. It was chicken that was not fresh. It was old. It was probably a day old, and it was not fun. And it's never fun. I mean, I've had to, believe it or not, eat quite a bit on camera, and it's never fun. I mean, imagine that. You have a camera and all these crew people and other actors are all watching you eat. Now, imagine that for a minute. Just think about you're eating lunch, and the world is watching you eat lunch, right? And the world is watching you and expecting you to be funny while you're eating your lunch. So it's a lot more difficult than it seems, and it's tiring. But I did not eat lunch that day. I remember that for sure. 6. When Dog gets up to use the bathroom, there's turbulence that the plane hits, causing her to fall on Josh. How was that done, and was there really a shake? Well, my friend, it was done through Hollywood magic. So the way it worked, she was walking down the aisle. I can't remember if they clapped or if they shouted turbulence or something, but there was an indication that she had to, fall off balance a little bit each time, and then the final time being the one she fell, Josh. No, the entire plane did not shake. That would have been something, right? But I think that's how it was. I can't remember if the rest of us also did sort of I can't remember if we all were doing something with the turbulence. And I can't remember. And that was one of the last things I believe that was shot that day. So I don't know if I was really paying attention really at that point anyway. So I don't know. I know we did not shake the plane, but I believe somebody either called out turbulence or somebody clapped or somebody indicated in a sense that there was turbulence happening, and that was just Debbie's brilliance was indicating to you that it was a very turbulent flight. Question 7. After you guys land in San Diego, it appears you were walking at a real airport. Was it a real airport or was it fake? We shot that at Los Angeles International Airport in the Tom Bradley terminal. Remember that? Our trailers were in one of the parking lots off site, and it was awful filming there. It was just awful because at the Tom Bradley Airport, it's a real airport. It's a real working airport, right? So we're working within this real airport, and every so often an announcement would come over the speakers, and not only would it come over in English, it would often come in other languages as well. And so we couldn't shoot during any of the announcements. So we had to wait and then shoot. But yes, the terminals for both the San Diego side and the Hollywood side, that was all constructed within the Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX. And and it took a while. I remember it took 2 days. We got there the first day, and because of all the announcements and stuff, it just dragged the production along. And so we had to come back another day so it took a couple of days to shoot that little scene. But that was a real airport. Question 8. A theoretical question, folks. Theoretical question coming up here. After landing, Darla wants to find Nana. Did y'all ever find her? I do have an interesting story for you about that. So in the original script, there was another scene that was not shot. And there was a scene of us getting off the airplane, but there was an additional scene later on at the baggage claim. And I'm trying to remember all the specifics of it. But the line about where's Nana, how should I know, that was supposed to be done at the baggage claim. And then what happens is, after we had delivered those lines about we don't know where, and how should I know and stuff, we decide to sit down and wait for Nana. And where we end up sitting is on a bench that happens to already have seated upon it poor Josh. And once again, we're seated on either side of him, squashing him as we were doing on the airplane. I don't remember what we were supposed to say leaving the airplane. It was a different set of lines. And then we had the Where's Nana stuff at the baggage claim. I will say that we had, and the reason we didn't shoot it was because of all the delays at Tom Bradley. We did have an advocate. We had one of the ADs, and I wish I knew his name to give him credit for this. I was really hoping he would win out because he really wanted that scene shot. He really thought it would be a great little sort of callback to have us sitting, that once again Josh is getting squeezed out, as it were, at the baggage claim. And he asked us if we would stick around because he was going to really advocate for us to shoot that scene. And he tried his best, but it just never happened. And I don't know how it would have fit because I know that in the final version, they're sort of sitting, Drake and Josh, at the terminal itself, and then they kind of have a moment, right, about I think they're where their sister was, right, and then there was this sort of moment they were having, and then we cut to commercial. So I don't know how it would have fit if we had made it a comic bit, but they tried. They wanted to do it, but no, we ended up having to sort of combine those two scenes together and use the lines for our exiting the plane. So there's a little tidbit for you. The scene that never was. Question 9. Do you still own the Drake and Josh Go Hollywood script? No. In fact, I gave it up soon after owning it. In fact, I had 2 copies of it. I'm from Alabama, and back home I had a cousin, and I had the daughter of one of my mother's closest friends, who were both Drake and Josh super fans. And so I had my script, plus I got a hold of another script, and I asked them to autograph both of them, and I took them to these 2 girls back home for them to have, because they were, like I said, they were super fans. And so that was sort of a gift. So I don't have them anymore. I don't know if they have them, but no, I don't have the script anymore. Question 10. Do you still own any of the clothes you wore on that movie or anything else? Be right back. Okay. So remember I told you earlier that I auditioned and booked this part very quickly, and I was on the set like the next day. I think it was the next day. And the costume department called me and said, we're not sure we can go and get you a new wardrobe or make you a costume, so would you mind bringing us something from your closet, some things from your closet, and maybe we can get lucky and find something that'll work for you. And one of the things that I brought was this shirt. This shirt I got. This is Herb. This is Herb's shirt. I got this shirt when I was doing a tour in Alabama and in Tennessee, a tour of a play called Greater Tuna. It's a 2-man play. You play about, we each played, 10, 20 parts each, and this was one of my mainstays costumes for one of the main characters in the show. And so I had it. I brought it with me. I was so happy they chose it because this shirt meant a lot to me because I love doing Greater Tuna. And so, yes, I still have it. It's still here. A piece of Americana right here. Final question of the night. Do you still keep in touch with anyone from Drake and Josh? No. I don't think. I mean, maybe I do and don't realize it. I know that I would have lunch with Matt, who played the bad guy. Not on the chicken eating day, but on the other days. He and I had lunch together. And he had just shot another film that he was very proud of. And I remember going to see that when it came out a year or so later, whenever it came out. And we spoke then about it. I remember telling him it was a great film, and we kind of caught up, I think, in that moment, but then there was nothing since. And there was a crew member whose name is Adam Crocker, whose mother was a good friend of mine. She died during the pandemic of other causes, but she died in the pandemic, and I saw Adam at her funeral, but not really kept in touch with him since. And, so there was a time I was a Disney pass holder for a while, for about 10 years, 10, 11 years, like that. And it was during that time as well that Drake happened to be a pass holder, or was there all the time as well. And I remember reading an article that he was there quite often, and I thought, oh, what a cool it would be to kind of run into him and remind him of who I am. But I never ran into him, so I never got the chance to have that sort of reunion at Disneyland. So, no, I've not had any contact with any of them since at all. But, the thing is, and I will say this sort of, since this is sort of the last question, I do have wonderful, fond memories of that. It was a lovely way to get my union card. Every actor knows where he was when he got his union card, and that was the show that propelled me into getting my SAG card. And that was magical and wonderful. And it was just a lovely experience. There was nothing negative except for that first moment when I thought I was going to get fired. Outside of that, it was just, we were able to improvise quite a bit and do our thing. And, yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And thank you for this. Thank you for allowing me to take an evening stroll back down memory lane. It was lovely. Good night.
Hey, this is Jonathan Goldstein Walter from Drake and Josh. I just want to thank you for watching Childhood DVD Fan right here on YouTube.